I'm Deepak Chopra. You're watching New Realities.
My name is Alan Steinfeld, and my program is called New Realities. Each week I go deep into the understanding of how we can start to change the planet, how new ideas can be presented to the world to unfold a greater civilization. Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld. This program is about the evolution of consciousness, and a big topic that I've studied and lots of people are interested in now is remote viewing. Originally started in the 1970s by the Stanford Research Institute, Russell Targ, Hal Puthoff, Ingo Swann. And then from there was a whole next wave of people that really took remote viewing and made it a practice, made it a discipline, controlled remote viewing. And we'll be talking all about the history, the practical techniques, and the importance, I think, of what that means in terms of human consciousness. So I'm talking to Lynn Buchanan, who still teaches controlled remote viewing. And how did you get involved? You were also a trainer there, but how did you first get involved with the whole program?
I was in Augsburg, Germany, and excuse me, and
That's okay.
I was doing programming for the intelligence services over there, computer programming, and I did a program that tied the computer files of 12 different countries together and got them talking to each other.
Wow.
And exchanging information. And the day of the demonstration of it, we had all these generals come into the room.
Yeah.
And this other sergeant had wanted the job of doing the programming, but they gave it to me. He was very jealous about that. And I went to the bathroom to make sure my hair was straight and my, no wrinkles in my uniform and all that, and came back. And I did my introduction, hit the enter key, and it went blank.
Wow.
And all these generals from all these different countries started giggling, and I turned around, and this other sergeant was at the back of the room, pointed like this and said, "Gotcha."
Wow, that's awful.
Oh yeah. And I got flaming angry. I have always had this problem of if I get really angry, things fall off shelves, things go bad, things like that.
Okay, I'm not going to get you angry then. Okay.
No. And when I did, the computer systems for the entire field station went down.
Wow.
And there was a captain there who had come in just to see that many generals in one place and all that. And he was working for General Stubblebine, head of the intelligence and security services. General Stubblebine was interested in PK and psychic warfare and all that. And this captain reported the incident to General Stubblebine. About 2 months later, General Stubblebine came out to the military unit, and he was installing a new commanding officer for the field station. And they told me I needed to report to the commander's office. I thought, what do I do now?
So you were was it the Army you were in? What service were you in?
I was in the Army, yeah.
And and what level were you at? What was your?
I was a sergeant first class.
And you were just trained in regular intelligence work, basically, right?
I was a Russian linguist specializing in scientific research and development.
Great. Okay, so Stubblebine calls you into the office, and then what?
And he got right up in my face and he said, "Did you kill my computers with your mind?" And I could just picture my great grandchildren still paying for computers, you know. And I just sort of heard myself say, "Yes, sir, I did."
Wow.
This grin came across his face and he said, "Far effing out, have I ever got a job for you?"
Wow.
And he wanted me, I found out later, much later, that he had wanted me to be part of a unit that would start doing things with enemy computers,
Mm.
you know, to make their missiles turn around and go back or drop into the sea or
Right, like the
whatever.
man who stare at goats, right? The men who stare at goats, sort of thing.
Yeah, that scene in The Man Who Stared at Goats, where General Hapgood talks to Lynn and says, "Yeah, far."
Yeah.
That was exactly the same scene. Yeah, in real life. And but anyway, Congress said no active mental work, only passive mental work. You know,
Right.
collecting intelligence. And so that's when he put me into the remote viewing unit.
Was this after the SRI program went into the military sector? Was that?
Ingo Swan lost his contract the week before I got there. I was to train with Ingo Swan. He lost his contract on Friday. I got there on Monday. And so they said, "Well, you're just going to have to learn from us now."
Wait, so you went to the Stanford Research Institute, and that's after Ingo? Is that?
No, I learned from the other remote viewers already trained in the unit.
Oh, so this was after the initial foundation by Hal and Russell and Ingo, right? And then there were the people they trained that went right into the you know, the CIA program.
They didn't train them. Ingo did.
Ingo trained them. So but you did meet Ingo. You did
Oh yeah, we became good friends, and I went out to Stanford several times. You know, on the units business and all that, and got to know Ingo, and became permanent friends with him for the rest of his life.
He was a really interesting guy. I knew him a little bit in New York. A great painter, a great astrologer, great visionary. His mother Mary sightings were something people don't know that much about, but he was quite a character.
Yeah, his book, The Sightings of the Blessed Virgin Mary,
yes,
is a quick revamp of his full book, which is about twice the size.
Oh.
His computer broke down.
Oh.
And he had to have he had to meet the deadline for the book. And so he sent me his computer hard drive, and it took me several months to get the complete book back. But by that time, his quick revamp of the book was already published. And so I'm probably the only person who has the full manuscript of his book that I got on his computer.
I'd love to see that sometime.
Well, I sent a copy to his sister.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want it spread around in case they ever want to publish the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, his family kept all his great paintings. They don't want spread around. I mean, it's sort of too bad, because that's just my opinion, that they're depriving the world of his great work. I mean, but anyway, you don't have to get into that. So, you know, I got involved with a remote viewing by interviewing Russell Targ, and he said, "Well, I can teach you right here." So I did. I was able. I don't know where these images come from, but he says, look for what you don't usually expect in the monkey mind, and boom, this image came in, and it's sort of a miracle how it works. I mean, I've been now teaching that
Yes.
to how do you explain it ultimately?
I don't. I'm rarely ever surprised by anything I see in this, but I'll never quit being amazed. And people ask me, where does the information come from? Uh, everybody has their own theory.
Right.
And I've always said that they hang on to that theory like they're lost at sea and it's the only thing that floats. They will not let go of it.
Right.
But nobody has any proof.
Could
And
it be this is just my theory, is that
whatever theory you come up with, it could be. I will agree to that.
well, the one that makes the most sense, not really sense or lie, that our right brain knows everything about everything all the time. It's connected to the infinite.
But then you get, how does it do that?
Yeah, that's so you've stopped trying to figure out how it works and just know.
People come to me with all these theories, and I always tell them, hey, I will believe your theory if you help me get a missing kid home.
Right.
That's all I care about,
And
Help
people
me.
do that though. They do
Oh, yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
but it whatever the theory, whatever, it's sort of miraculous that it works, that I mean, I was doing it with a group of people and I was actually showing the scene and people saying, oh, there's a lot of people around and it seems like some kind of parade or celebration. This was about 20 different people got the same thing,
Yeah.
and you know what it was? It was the JFK assassination. They just, boom, they didn't get the exact thing, but they got
Yeah.
the sort of circumstances around that. What do
Yeah.
you call that?
Here's the thing, Russell can show you in 5 minutes
Yeah.
how to do remote viewing successfully.
Yes.
You get big things. Okay.
Right.
What Ingo developed was a methodology, and this is what we used in the unit, where you get those vague things, and then in a structured format, you take one vague thing at a time and remote view it. And
Oh.
anything you get about it, you take those things one at a time and remote view that. And you get details, infinitely accurate details.
Wait, so let me understand that. So let's say you got this crowd, they didn't know what it was. Then they already have how do you remote view something you're already viewing though? I mean, how do you?
Okay, you get this crowd, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Describe the crowd. Oh, okay, the crowd. They're general people.
Right.
Okay. They're lined up along a street.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Describe the street. Oh, okay. The street is going downhill, and there's a hill back behind the people, and there's a big building back there.
Yeah.
Oh, describe the building. Oh, that building is a red brick building, and what's the purpose of it? It's a warehouse. Oh, really? Describe the warehouse. What's in it?
Oh, and then you start to see more details.
That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, and then eventually, would you ever then name like, oh, this is Dallas? Does that ever come to people? Oh, this is Dallas,
It does. Yes, it does. But Ingo always discouraged that because the minute you name something, then whatever associations you have with that name
right
come in and start flooding you with pollution.
So the idea, though, of remote viewing aspects of what that initial vague thing is, you want to put together a whole picture eventually of that, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so in 5 minutes, yeah, you can do remote viewing and get a general thing of the crowd,
Right,
you know, of the site.
right.
In the controlled remote viewing, you may spend 2 or 3 hours, take a break over a day, spend 2 or 3 hours the next day, and do this for 5 days, getting details, 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 details. This is why it was used for intelligence gathering against enemies. You know?
Right. Now, would you talk about the role of the monitor in controlled remote viewing? Now, would the monitor tell the group, yes, you're right, there was a crowd, or not anything?
Nope, no, that's
Okay.
pollution.
Okay.
The monitor is there to take notes, to
Right.
watch the viewer and take notes. After after a monitor gets to know the viewer, the monitor can tell when they're going off on a flight of fantasy and when they're on target, and will make notes, you know. And all of this is done in writing.
Mm-hmm.
The viewer stuff is done in writing. So the monitor can say, beginning of page 5 appears to be AOLing, going off in
Analytical
fantasy.
overlay. Yeah. Right.
And then when they get back on target, you know, middle of page 7, back on target now, and all that. So, but then also, if the viewer stalls, the monitor's job is to cue them with some new part of the target that they can get started on again.
Like you
Also,
cue
the
them.
monitor,
What would you say as a monitor? How would you cue somebody?
let's say in the beginning, they've said there's a crowd of people and there's land.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And so they're describing the crowd of people and all that, and then they stall. Oh, okay, move to the land and describe.
Right. Right.
Simple as that. Also, the monitor's job is so the viewer won't have to keep track and think logically
Yeah.
when they go to a new page. Something as simple as giving them the new page number so that they can write it down. Things like this.
What do you mean by a new page? Where they write more detail, you're saying? Or
Oh yeah, because a page, one of the CRV sessions,
yeah.
I've seen them go 60 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you're really getting into quite detail. And
extreme detail. Yeah.
I want to say that Lynn teaches controlled remote viewing, and it's an incredible course if you're wanting to understand any aspect of it. How do people find that course online? Where you go to? Do you?
My website is crviewer.com.
Right. It's definitely worth it if you're at all interested in developing this part of the mind, because it does seem to be something we're all capable of doing. Of course, we need the training that you're talking about, but we have this facility as human beings.
Yep.
Isn't it miraculous that first of all, we're not told that, and that it exists?
You know what seems miraculous to me
Well,
is the fact that we all have it and nobody's using it.
yes, yes. And what could we, I mean, so you worked for the Army Intelligence, but what are the practical aspects? I mean, I use it, say, what should I go, where should I go eat food, what restaurant? But what are the practical what would you use it for, really?
We use it for businesses. We use it for military, for different agencies, for police work.
Right.
We have medical applications. We've done quite a bit of space exploration, research and development for R&D projects that companies have and that the government has, and finances. We've got some students who learned this, and I mean, they headed straight for Las Vegas.
So
Yeah.
you would like remote view like a card in the future that would come up, or dice? Is that what they would do in Las Vegas with this, or how would you work?
Yeah, you know, ideograms, right?
Yeah, right. The
Ideograms
picture.
is a
Yeah. Yeah.
physical response to an inward awareness. Okay.
Right.
You develop an ideogram for red, black, and green, and one for don't bet.
Right.
Go and set it a roulette wheel. Hey,
You know, but it's just so, yeah, if we were to be taught this as children, I just imagine how
yeah.
this is really where we're going as a civilization. I think that's why your work is important, to start to develop an awareness.
One of my big hopes is that it helps humanity. Humanity is in need of help right now.
Well, that's what I was going to talk to you about a little later. Like, you remote viewed the future. So,
Yeah.
and the future, you've told me it's not necessarily predictable. It's seen, but you've talked about the Joe's Diner effect, or some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Talk
future
about.
is changeable. And the Joe's Diner thing uh, deals with the work of a psychic or a remote viewer when they deal with the public. So if the police come to me and they say, where's the criminal going to be at 9 o'clock tonight? I do my session and I say he's going to be at Joe's Bar and Grill, sitting, eating dinner.
Right.
So at 8:30, they go hide in the bushes. 8:45, he walks up. They jump out, arrest him, and at 9 o'clock, he's in jail. I was wrong. They changed the future. If I had said at 9 o'clock he's in jail, they would never have gone to Joe's Bar and Grill, and he would be sitting there eating dinner. And so the fact is that when you act on the future becomes changeable. And so any predictive work like that is no different from the weatherman.
But
you give updates.
It gives me sort of chills, because what you were remote viewing originally was
the future as it was at that time.
But did that future actually must have existed in some level of reality in order for you to remote view it, right? I mean,
I'm not sure about that.
Right.
A lot of people have this theory of multiple universes,
Right.
and every decision I ever make in my entire life creates an entire new universe.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not that important.
Well,
I don't know of anybody who is. I can't believe that. Yeah.
So
I don't do the woo-woo part.
Yeah,
I
right.
really.
Remote viewing's woo-woo enough, but no, it gives me, so you saw, like in that case, as you see a probable future or a future.
A future as it stands at the moment of your viewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then if somebody's going to change it, okay, I tell the police where he's going to be at 9 o'clock. I do another session, and now I find out he's going to be in jail.
Right. I think it must have changed because you said something like at the SRI, Stanford Research Institute, they would remote view where someone was going to be before they were there. And they would be right. Or Joe McMonagle does that. But so it didn't change it because they didn't.
We have another analogy that's more pertinent, actually.
Okay.
It's called the bug on the pond of time.
Okay.
You're a bug on the pond of time. You look across the pond, and there's another bug sitting beside a rock on the pond.
Right.
And you think that would make a good meal. So you head out across the pond of time toward that bug, it sets up a wake in front of you. Okay.
Right.
That wake that precedes you scares that bug away, and it's not there when you get there.
Right.
Does that mean it wasn't there when you looked across the pond? It was there. Okay. And so the bug has gone away. That future has changed. The rock is still there. There are rocks in the pond of time that we can't change.
So
Other things.
there are events, you're saying, in the pond of there are things that are destined for humanity that are unchangeable.
There's this constant fight about predestination and free choice.
Right.
They both exist at the same time. There are some things that are predestined. There are rocks in the pond of time. There are some things that simply by acting on them, you change them. You come to a traffic light and you're supposed to go forward. You decide, I'm going to turn right.
Right.
You just change your future.
Right. So you do shift you not only change your future, you change the future of everyone that you would have passed on the road if you went straight or turned right. I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
in a way, you are that powerful. You change the destiny of the world by your decisions. I mean,
but you didn't create a whole new universe. You just changed the future of the one you're in. Yeah.
So there are destined events that makes sense. That and then there's the details that seem to be able to be manipulated in a way.
Right. Yeah.
So well, let's talk. If you want to share what you saw the future when you remote viewed, and then what can we change? So what did you see, and if you want to share in 20 or 10 years or 20 years, I mean,
I saw definitely that it could be changed, but what I saw, they asked me to view up to 2050 in the U.S. The conditions of the U.S.
Who asked you that? Was that the government? Who asked you that? I mean,
that was a task that I got.
Okay, we don't have to go. That's
the government gave us military tasks.
Okay, so
it was a personal task that I got. Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
We had congressmen and generals coming through all the time. You know.
Right.
Anyway, I saw that. In fact, I found the copy of the session I did, that in the year 2020 will be the beginning of a series of man-made natural disasters. And these man-made natural disasters will last for 20 years.
Wow.
By the end of the 20 years, there'll be a great decrease in the population. Cities will have pretty well become useless and pretty well emptied out. Right. That's already happening, you know.
It is.
And that people would start being at home and staying isolated, but all relationships would be through technology. Here we are.
There we are. Yeah.
And that it would become over time a largely agrarian society where instead of getting groceries delivered to your store and all that, you basically grow your own. And right now, I would like to get a greenhouse here at my house. Listen, the greenhouse builders are so busy, I can't even get one of them out here to give me an estimate.
So, you know? But is that a future that is set, or is that a rock, or is that something we could now maybe change?
Something we could change. I think we could change. Now, I was also tasked with viewing December the 21st, 2012. Yeah. What I saw was that it was a tipping point and nothing more. That we could make massive changes before then, but at that tipping point, it was going to be downhill.
And did you remote view that after 2012? And did you see what did we do?
No, that was long before 2012 when they first came out with the Mayan calendar, you know.
But after that, did we go downhill? Was it an actual tipping point?
Where are we now?
We're downhill for sure.
Yeah, we're downhill, and that as we get going downhill, it's going to go faster and faster. Yeah.
Mm. So what can we do? I mean, if you could remote view the potential in human beings, what can we do that you see that could
My
turn it
advice
around?
to people when they ask is prepare for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
That's it. We have, I saw this coming way back in the 90s, you know,
Mhm.
and we got this place, we got it solarized, we have solar power, we have our own power, we have our own deep well, we have stockpiles,
Mhm.
and I'm not a prepper by any means, you know,
Mhm.
not digging a hole in the ground and getting a bunch of guns or
Right.
anything. But yeah, I would say, you know, take your head out of the sand and look at what's going on, and just prepare. You know, go buy some extra groceries.
Definitely. But yeah, no, so either way, you can't lose if you buy extra groceries. But if we could change that, could you do you remote view possibilities? How would humanity actually change or save itself from that sort of fate, if that was
I just don't see it happening.
right?
Uh,
All right. Now,
I think it would take a concentrated effort on the part of millions of people, and we can't get millions of people together, you know.
but the other
Three-
fact, yeah, no, I understand because we're not together. But the other factor that maybe you remote view is the presence of ETs, right? How do they work for the future of humans? And
You know, I didn't see any of that in that prediction I did.
right.
But I wasn't tasked with that.
Mhm.
My personal feeling is that there is ET influence going on, but that's a personal feeling from
Right.
other things I've viewed and other things I've seen uh,
Mm,
through my
right.
classification, you know, security clearances and things
Right.
like that.
So you were asked, you don't have to share that, but you were asked by the military to do extraterrestrial remote viewing of no? Oh,
We were never officially asked.
okay.
We were given military targets.
But have you
We,
on
we
yeah,
were never officially asked. Okay.
okay, I get it. I get it. But separate from that, what have you seen just on your own outside the military of beings that inhabit the other worlds? I mean, can you share some of that? Um,
Well, they're there, you know,
I mean,
and I have had an encounter
yeah,
uh, that lets me know. I mean, no longer a theory. I know they're there, but a lot of people have had these personal encounters, and you know, the rest of the world can say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're imagining things." That's
right.
mass hysteria. That you know, the UFO was there,
Mm.
and hundreds of people saw it. Oh, that must be mass
No, no,
hysteria. Oh my
I don't
goodness.
agree with that. Actually, I've just written a book about the making contact. I could send you a copy if you want to do an endorsement. I'll send you an email. I would love your feedback about it. It's
Good.
so, but you know, you talk about getting into the mind when you remote view, when you're really good, you can get into the mind of people, but could you get into the mind of these other beings as well?
I've
Because
had that task and have done that. Yes.
because my theory, and it's just a theory, is that they don't
It was
think
not an official task.
right, right,
Right.
but they don't think like we can get into people's minds because we sort of understand how they think but when you get into the mind of an ET, it seems like they don't have the same cognitive functionality that humans do. Was that
In many
difficult?
ways, in many ways they do, but there are
Oh, they do.
differences. Yeah.
But what was the difference, if you want to?
People people say, what did they want? Well, for one thing, there's not them and us. There's us and them and them and them and them and them and them and them, you know.
Right.
And they all want different things. One of the common things is common to the American soldier.
Which is what?
They want to go home.
Oh.
I mean, as far as we think we have a great planet, it's not home for them. They're here to do a job.
Uh-huh. Right.
They'd rather be home.
Do you think us humans are actually not home here either? There's what we are we're our home is somewhere else. I mean,
It's home for me. You know, as long as I pay rent, it's home. Of course, I don't pay rent. I own the place, but
yeah, but we're part of, I mean, it just seems like the human mind is so different than every other creature on the planet, maybe not dolphins and whales, but that we're connected to this bigger reality. That's
yeah. And when you access the minds of animals,
yeah,
there are differences, but there are common things too. Safety, fear, hunger, self-preservation. I mean, it's all there, you know.
Mm-hmm. But did you ever remote view a place where humanity will then realize it's connected to the cosmos, or will we always stay as one of those rocks that will always stay in isolation?
I don't know. I've never been tasked with doing that. And
I'll task you with that. It's okay. No, because it seems like there, sightings are, I mean, not to get off the top of remote viewing, but sightings have been up worldwide. It seems like there is a presence that wants to make itself known.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that wants to not make itself known too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's very complex. It's very, we're in a strange situation. I think we're at that tipping point again, where, or is it, have we really passed that in 2012? It seems like there's another.
We passed it. Yeah.
We passed it. So you talked about also remote viewing from now the past, so you could change the past. Like you gave us.
You can't change the past, but we have found that you can influence the past. Yeah.
Well, didn't you say if like you wake up and you find that you're shouldn't be going someplace for whatever, if you remote view, well, what did you say? You remote viewed from now the past, and you change, you influence it. Talk about that.
Okay, one of the things we found out developing remote influencing, where you can put things into people's minds. Okay. You have a moment of decision. Okay. So I have a moment of decision. Am I going to buy this car or not? A year from now, I find out that I bought a lemon.
Yeah.
Okay. If that future as it stands now with me signing, I find I bought a lemon, I can access myself at the moment of decision and say, don't sign.
So you would remote view the actual signing of the car. Okay, if I do this, and then you remote view a year from that moment right then, and then you could see the circumstances of that.
No, I would not remote view right then. I would listen to that voice, that very small voice from the future. I would listen to hindsight from the future. And I did a study on this, a 4-year study one time. The first year I kept track of every decision, and later found out whether it was a wise one or not, and I was at about 53-54% good decisions. That'll never get you rich or famous or anything like that, And so the second year I started doing this accessing. And at the end of that year, once I got feedback on everything, I found that it had gone up to around, I think it was 78% good decisions. The third year, it went up to almost 90% decisions. The fourth year, I have never gone back and tried to influence any decision I made that year. It was back down into, I think, 58%.
Oh, because that was the control part of that. So when you can talk about then how you do the accessing so you make good decisions. How do you?
Take the course.
Oh, okay. It's a whole
not-
long thing.
The reason I say that is not to get you to take the
No,
course.
I know.
It is because it's not easy.
Right. But
in fact, it's very difficult. You really have to know what you're doing. Yeah.
right. No, I know. It's advancing, but it just seems like sometimes you do get like, I was going to this restaurant I always go to all the time, and I just got the feeling I shouldn't go to the restaurant. But I said to myself, well, I go there all the time and I like the food. So I went and I sit next to this guy who had a couple of years ago, it wasn't this year, who had a really bad cold. And it was like, and I got picked this thing up and it's like, oh, that's what that was about. Oh, it wasn't about the food. It was about the bigger picture there. And it's like,
Yeah.
so if I would have listened to, oh, you don't need to go there, then instead of questioning, but why? I like the food and it's all that, then so I've decided not to. If I get a feeling for something, I think, well, the small personality can't maybe know in this moment why, but it's about trusting those voices from the future.
And if you learn that lesson, you've learned a lot about remote viewing.
Right.
But remote viewing, we say the remote viewer is in charge of everything in remote viewing. And your remote viewer is your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind.
Right. And our subconscious mind must always, be talking to us, I would say. But
Hey, listen.
if we know how to listen, and that's why it's important to take your course, because there's cues from the subconscious mind that's, and like you talk about in your course, the AOLs or the analytical overlays, they're not always distractions. Sometimes there's meaning for that
Yeah.
that, if you just take a quick remote viewing course, they might say, just don't pay attention to your AOLs. But you're saying,
Right. Yeah.
I think that's
there's a reason, like you get an impression, a vague impression of red.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, an apple.
Yeah.
Well, it's not an apple. It's just your subconscious telling you red.
Right.
But your conscious mind has got to identify things,
Right.
And we have another analogy for that of Ugg and Og. Ugg and Og, two cavemen were walking through the primeval forest, and they hear a twig snap behind them. Ugg says, "Saber-toothed tiger," and runs. Og says, "What's that? Guess whose descendants we are?" And so from caveman days, the ability to quickly name something, jump to a conclusion, has saved our lives.
Right. But
And now we're saying, don't do that.
now it's in the way. That immediate instinct has
Right.
So we have to, that's the part of separating the mind from its conditioning or what Russell called the noise from the signal.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing in a way you can't do with remote viewing, because that's how incredible humans are.
we're learning new applications all the time. Yeah. Mhm.
So people, as they become proficient in remote viewing, they become, I wouldn't say licensed, but they get assignments to do certain, like find people or right. Uri
Yeah.
Geller would be working for these mineral companies looking for deposit
Yeah.
and but did you
And
just
stockbrokers are always interested in people who have a proven track record. You got to prove yourself first. You can't prove yourself. And because of that, controlled remote viewing not only includes the training and the work, it also includes databasing. You know, these days people don't say, show me your proof. They say, show me your data.
what is that? Can you explain that databasing?
Yeah, if you do a session, okay, many trainers of psychic work will say, oh, if you got something right, then yeah, you're psychic. What we do is we take your session, we go through it. Every impression you got, we put it up against the feedback and say, is that right or wrong?
The feedback is the actual target. Is that
The
what?
actual
Yeah.
target.
Right. Okay.
Now, at the end of that, we say, okay, you got a color wrong, but you got a shape right. Over time and multitudes of sessions, what's going to happen is the database is going to show what you're strong at, what you're weak at. A project manager who starts using multiple controlled remote viewers can task each one according to their strengths. And if there's something they're weak at, they'll find another viewer who's strong at that and task them. So that if we have, let's say, 10 remote viewers who have an average accuracy rate of 70%, we can get 95% accuracy out of them.
Wow, because you've fine-tuned their skills. So it's important to work in a group when you're doing remote viewing, would you say?
No, it's important to work alone so there's no pollution, cross pollution. However, a project manager will work a group and task them individually toward their strengths to get the information in. Then the project manager compiles the data, analyzes it, and provides it to the customer.
Oh, I see. So the group works separately, but they have them focus on, and then project manager puts all these different elements together because the project manager may not know what the target is. It just, I mean.
Usually they know what the target is, but they're trying to find the unknown answer.
Right. So.
But here again is where I say, I wasn't tasked to do that. We learned very quickly that you do what you're tasked to do by the project manager.
I see. So I've met people who are great remote hearers. They can hear sounds or feel. So the project manager would have them task those elements there.
Right.
Do you have to go? Do you have an appointment?
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, because this is fascinating because the course, you go into the intricacies, but here you're sort of outlining all the elements of
the thing is, remote viewing is easy.
Yeah.
Controlled remote viewing is basically a scientific process that is formalized. If you go to one controlled remote viewing teacher for like basic, and then their schedule for intermediate training doesn't match your schedule, you can go to another controlled remote viewing trainer. Their course picks up exactly where yours left off. We all teach exactly the same thing, the English Swan method, and the format is the same, the terminology is the same, everything.
Well, the Ingo Swan method is what? Creating the chart with temperature, land. Is that the Ingo Swan method specific? What do you?
That's a simplification of it. Yeah.
and then you get elements of it. Because I've talked to this woman Nancy Datura. She's teaching her own
Yeah.
accelerator. Yeah,
Nancy
Datura.
it's
Yeah.
a French word, can't be pronounced.
Yeah. But she seems to be doing really interesting things as she took off from the controlled remote viewing. But
Yeah, hers is different. Yeah, but
right. But with controlled remote viewing, CRV, you can get very specific, and then could you eventually name the target, because you don't want to ever go into the left brain noun.
yes, you can. And
Uh.
remote CRVers often do name the target accurately. It's discouraged.
Okay, because
Project managers discourage it, because the minute you name it, all of the, Eiffel Tower. Oh, must be French.
right,
Did you know there's an Eiffel Tower in Tokyo?
right.
You
So
know,
that's key, though, and that's also what Russell talks. You don't want to name it, because that takes you into the left brain, that sits it into a box. And remote viewing is a part, from what I've seen and felt, it's a part of us that is so unlimited, that taps into those. And I think it goes back to children should be taught this. They should be taught how to use their mind.
yeah.
And that's a revolution. That is.
It really is. Yeah.
I mean, that's exciting. I'm really happy you're doing the work you're doing.
I love it. I could not see myself going through life and not giving this to the world. I just can't see that.
And people are doing very well in your courses. They're really
Oh, I'm surprised by much of the work they're doing. Like I say, I'm not that surprised anymore, but I am amazed at it. They're doing stuff in 2 months that it took me 2 years to learn. Yeah.
Wow. Do you ever get into like a different aspect of the mind, like channeling, like when you're contact? I mean, it's different than remote viewing, but it's still a facility of the mind. Do you ever?
That comes up, and in the advanced methods of the English Swan method, there is a quote tool, a mental tool that lets you stop the CRV and go do any other method, get the results of it, bring it back into a CRV session, and then remote view each individual part of what you got from that other method. And so there is a way in CRV to incorporate any other method.
Wow.
I mean, you want to gut chickens and read entrails. Ingo provided for anything.
One more question, or maybe if you have a little time, do you ever remote view? We talked about ETs, but what about, well, your wife has just died recently, right? And sorry to hear that. Do you use your mind to connect with her consciousness, or can people use it to connect with people who have passed into the other realm?
Yes.
And because you've trained, does that communication, is it as of course it's not like having someone there, but is it as real as like that person being here? I'm just curious.
No, not as real as the person being here, of course.
Right. But their consciousness.
Also, it's what's called an esoteric. It's the esoteric part of controlled remote viewing, where you get the information, and the information is basically verifiable, but not provable.
Not provable.
Verifiable, but not provable. Yeah.
Right. Like I think Krishnamurti said that about past lives. It was real, but you couldn't prove it, I mean.
Right.
do you go into that as well, past lives and that for your own,
You can.
like
I rarely ever get tasked with anything like that. Yeah.
well, did you ever work on that on your, because if the mind is non-local, then who we are is
Yeah.
non-local consciousness that exists beyond the body, which is what remote view actually proves that, you know, so who
I get,
yeah,
get
go
a
ahead.
lot of requests for that kind of information, but I have a stack of targets that I would like to do, a stack that other people want me to do,
Mm-hmm.
and a stack of missing kids.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, that third stack wins out every time.
Mm.
I just never get the things that I want to do or that other people want me to do.
Right.
If there's a missing kid, I'm gonna do what I
Wow.
can to help, you know.
Well, thank you for
Missing
doing.
kid, police cases, drug interdiction and all that, yeah.
So you could find out if the child is alive or not, or and where they might be located. You get a that's that, and you work with police. I mean, some people work with police departments for that, and
Yeah, I don't often anymore because I'm now teaching others. And when these things come up, I will generally pick the person who is by the database has the best track record at working that, and I give them the experience, and I will consult with them, help them through it and all that. But I'm wanting to get more people out there who are highly proficient.
right. That's why you're doing the training.
Yeah.
Yes. But just getting back to the idea of past lives, do you ever like get a glimpse of or future? Do you ever get a glimpse of like where you may have been, or you look at someone and you get some overlay of like,
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
and I guess, I don't know, maybe it doesn't, I guess, being here is probably more valuable than thinking where we were in the past, right? I mean,
Maybe not. And one of the things I found was that maybe saying past lives and future lives is the wrong term.
uh-huh.
Maybe it's uh, uh, prior lives and
Parallel.
no, and lives, to come. Because like if you have reincarnation, you may reincarnate into the past to learn your next lesson.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Life may have been 100 years from now.
Oh, I've often thought of that because I'm drawn to certain time periods that seem very interesting. That's great.
So the soul and the subconscious are not bound by time. Yeah.
And also other worlds, other planets, other forms, this is great. So what's your work taking you now? I mean, you're still teaching, you're still activating, but is there anything else you want to do with, I mean, you're doing it, but is anything a
Well,
big
my
picture?
artwork, my writing and all that, I want to do that, but right now I have several hundred students and that's keeping me busy. So keeping
And
me
it's
fine.
exciting.
Yeah.
Have you written, do you have some books out there too? Do you have
I have a book called The Seventh Sense, put out by one of the subsidiaries of Simon & Schuster. It's called The Seventh Sense. And it's about not only the remote viewing, but also my time in the remote viewing unit.
Great. No, I think it's great work you're doing. Linda Moulton Howe mentioned you occasionally, and she's great. She's one of the top. She's in this book I wrote actually, and sharing her experience. But she did mention once on her radio program some ominous vision you did have of the future.
Well, just what I showed, what I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
Right. And
the end result, I think, is a better life and better world for humanity. But the process of getting there from 2020 to 2040 is not going to be easy on anybody.
So what's the best thing we can do to prepare to maybe shift, but also prepare, just be prepared, just get food, I mean,
open your eyes to what's going on and become self-sufficient and self-reliant. Yeah.
That is the key.
Yeah. I have heard so many people say, I can't find a job because nobody will hire me. Hey, start your own business and hire yourself, I mean, I had an uncle one time who got down and nobody would hire him because of his health. So he started going and picking up old refrigerators that people were throwing away and old, machinery that people were throwing away, taking them to people who repair them. He would charge the person for picking them up, charge the person he delivered it to, and he was making money. He couldn't find a job, so he hired himself.
Right. A great, That's, that just gets me to like this last sort of question is that remote viewing seems to be coming into our minds from the same place creativity comes from.
Yeah.
Right. It's the unknown. It's the when I sit down to write, I don't know what's going to come to me, but it comes. Something comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And how connected is that to what you're calling remote viewing?
Very much so. Yeah. There have been brain studies seeing what parts of the brain light up, and they appear to have found that the psychic who correctly predicts the future, the same part of the brain lights up as in the normal person when they're remembering things. So we don't so much predict the future as remember it.
Oh, interesting. So, and then, but the thing about creativity that is so strange is these ideas, where are they coming from? Because it's
Where they
like,
come from isn't important. It's what you do with them.
right. But it's like they, some exist before, but sometimes like people get these really original visions. What I like to do with this program, New Realities, is help people awaken that part of their brain that helps them connect the dots,
Yeah.
And I think creative action is part of that. So
I worked my way through college. One of the ways I got money working for myself, I would take a picture of somebody's portrait, make a negative out of it, print that out, tape it to a window and put a piece of paper over it. Every place that was light, I would color it in to match the dark areas with a pencil.
Yeah.
When I finished, I had a hand-drawn portrait of that person. I'd take it back and sell it to them, a hand-drawn pencil portrait. And
that's great.
made through college.
Yeah, that is great. Wow. Wow. Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
My dad worked for the railroad. I grew up all across the South.
Oh, for who did he work for, you said?
The railroad.
Oh, the railroad. So you kept moving. Oh, and you never were into this the psychic phenomena until you met Stubblebine. You knew you had something, or
it began for me around age 12. Yeah.
Oh, it did. Oh, yeah. What do you want to just tell an early story about that at age 12? What happened?
Oh, there are a lot of them. I think we're about out of time
All
here
right,
anyway.
that's fine. We'll go into it again. But
Okay.
no, but I appreciate your time. I mean, of course, you have lots of stories, and and they're great. And thank you for doing the work of activating people to who they really are. I mean, this is,
If I can. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So I recommend everyone watching take this CRV course. What's the website again? CRV.
crviewer.com.
crviewer.com.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
it's an ongoing course, right? You can just jump in wherever
Sure.
you are.
That's
And
right.
great. So I've been talking to Lynn Buchanan, the teacher. You've been doing this for what, 30, 40 years now.
Boy, I'm getting old. But yeah.
You look pretty good though. You look pretty good. Anyway, a great remote viewer, a great teacher of remote viewing. I recommend his work, and it'll really show you another part of yourself that's always been there. I mean, that's the great thing about it.
It's there. You just have to learn to listen. Yeah.
This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. Thank you for watching today. You could subscribe to the station.